We've got a situation here that, well, it just doesn't seem to make any sense. At the very same moment the US is pushing for peace with Iran, Iran's Revolutionary Guard is attacking ships in a critical waterway. So how can a peace offer and a major provocation be happening at the same time? That's the puzzle we're going to piece together today.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start by laying out this impossible situation. Then we'll dive into the specific actions in the Strait of Hormuz. After that, we'll look at President Trump's pretty surprising diplomatic offer, and then unpack Iran's hardline response to figure out why these two are so far apart. It's all leading up to a critical 72-hour question.
So let's start with this impossible situation. At the very heart of this story are two major events happening at once that seem to completely contradict each other. Let's unpack them. And this right here lays it all out. On one hand, you have the United States making a huge diplomatic gesture, extending a military ceasefire indefinitely. And on the other hand, how does Iran respond? With force, firing on and seizing commercial ships. It's a peace offering being met with a very direct provocation.
Okay, so let's zoom in on that action in the Strait. What exactly happened out there in one of the world's most important shipping lanes? What did Iran's Revolutionary Guard actually do on Wednesday?
So Iran's Revolutionary Guard went after 3 different container ships. 2 of them, the Epaminondas and the Francesca, were actually seized and rerouted towards Iran. A third, the Euphoria, was fired on. Now, the key thing to notice here are their destinations: India, Sri Lanka, Saudi Arabia. This wasn't some localized scuffle. It was a clear move to disrupt global trade.
Now, the good news here, and it's the most important thing, is that the crew of the Epaminondas was reported to be safe and accounted for. The ship itself, though, not so lucky. Reports confirmed there was damage to the bridge, which tells you this wasn't just some routine inspection. It was a forceful, deliberate takeover. Now get this. At the very same moment all of this is unfolding at sea, President Trump makes this stunning move that goes in the complete opposite direction. You have to understand the timing here. A 2-week truce was literally hours away from expiring. Pakistan, who's been playing the mediator in all this, basically urged the U.S. to keep the door open for peace. And Trump didn't just agree. He extended the ceasefire indefinitely. In theory, that gives Tehran all the time in the world to come to the table. And he didn't just extend the ceasefire. He sounded incredibly optimistic. The president was quoted saying that a second round of talks wasn't just a possibility, but that it could happen as soon as Friday, within 36 to 72 hours. I mean, that is an unbelievably fast timeline for this kind of high-stakes negotiation. And that number, 72 hours, is suddenly the key to this whole crisis. It's not just a number anymore. It's an urgent ticking clock that's putting a ton of pressure on everybody involved. The whole world is watching now to see if they'll actually sit down and talk, or if this whole thing is going to fall apart.
This brings us to the big question, right? If the U.S. offered an indefinite ceasefire, an olive branch, why on earth would Iran respond by seizing ships? Well, the answer is all about what that ceasefire doesn't cover.
And here it is. This is the crucial sticking point. For Iran, a military ceasefire doesn't mean a whole lot while the U.S. is still hammering its economy with a full blockade. From where Tehran sits, this isn't peace. It's just a different kind of warfare.
And you don't have to guess what their position is. Iran's top negotiator, Mohammad Baghir Khalibaf, makes it crystal clear. See, he doesn't see the blockade as some separate issue. He calls it a flagrant breach of the ceasefire itself. He's basically saying, how can we have a real truce if you're still strangling our economy?
So this is where the diplomatic stalemate really hits. On one side, you have Trump optimistically calling for talks within days. And on the other side, Iran's foreign ministry comes out and says they haven't even decided if they'll show up. The two sides aren't just on different pages. They're in completely different books.
So all of this leads us right to where we are at this very moment. A really high-stakes stalemate with the clock ticking.
Let's just break down this deadlock. The U.S. wants to talk within 72 hours, but it's not willing to lift the economic blockade. Iran is saying the blockade has to end before any serious talks can happen, and they're signaling their actions in the Strait will continue until it does. And poor Pakistan, the mediator, is stuck right in the middle, trying to bridge a gap when the two sides can't even agree on the basic conditions for a meeting. And that leaves us with this huge, urgent question. President Trump's 72-hour clock is ticking down. But with both sides dug in this deep, what is it ticking down to? Is this a genuine path to peace, or is it just the prelude to a much bigger storm? What happens next won't just impact these two countries, it could ripple across the entire globe.